My husband's looking at me because I have so much energy. Yeah. It's your girl Ty. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my life and my journey in trying to conceive rainbow baby number uno. And if you're returning, thank you so much for returning and supporting my journey, you guys. You have shown so much love and it is so encouraging. You may be asking why you're getting this random video. So you're getting this video because we finally got our genetic test results back, and I was not going to record our conversation with our genetic counselor, but I figured, why not? Like, I'm sharing everything else. That is her, so let's begin.
Okay, sit with Ms. Bryant, please.
Hi, this is her.
Hi, this is Rebecca. I'm a genetic counselor with Married Women's Health. How are you doing today?
I'm well, Rebecca. How are you?
Do you have specific questions that you would like to start with, or do you want me to start with an overview?
I'll have you start with an overview, and then we'll see if our questions were answered.
Okay, perfect. You know, kind of basically what we're doing with this testing is looking to see if either of you are carriers for particular conditions.
Okay.
And when we say somebody's a carrier, all that means is that for most of our genes, we have 2 copies of that gene. One copy we've inherited from our mother, the other copy we've inherited from our father. And when a person is a carrier, that means one of the 2 copies isn't working the way it's supposed to.
Oh, okay.
In general, carriers are very common. So that's the most common result we get when we do this. So more likely to be a carrier than to not be a carrier.
All right.
And then for most of these conditions, because a person has a working copy of a particular gene, they don't have any symptoms of the condition.
Oh, okay.
There are a couple genes that's not true, but the ones we're going to talk about today, generally carriers don't have any symptoms.
Perfect.
With these conditions, a person would have the disease if both copies of their gene wasn't working correctly. And the way that occurs is if they've inherited a non-working copy from each parent.
Okay.
So that means that both parents have to be carriers for the same condition in order for it to be a risk to the child.
Okay.
So bottom line, when we look at your test results, is everything's great because while you were found to be a carrier for a condition, your partner tested negative. And the other condition we're going to talk about, his result was actually what we call uncertain, but because you tested negative, that risk to a child stays low.
All right.
Hopefully that will make a little more sense. But these are good news. This is nice looking test results.
All right.
So when we did this testing, again, we screened you for a lot of genes. You, ma'am, came back as a carrier for a big long word for it is HB beta chain related hemoglobinopathy.
Oh.
This gene is a gene that makes our hemoglobin, so the structure in our blood that carries our oxygen. And there's lots of different genetic changes that can happen in this gene. This is a gene that can cause a condition called beta thalassemia. Other changes in this gene cause sickle cell disease, and the particular change that you carry in it causes what's called Hemoglobin-C disease, which again, you're not going to have any symptoms of that, but that's what the particular change that you carry is associated with. Because Mr. Bryant screens negative for changes in this gene, what that did, the testing we do picks up greater than 99% of changes in this gene. And so that reduced his chance to be a carrier to about 1 in 1,000 chance.
Okay.
Before that, it was about a 1 in 10 chance before we did testing.
Oh, wow. Is it because he's African American?
It's a much more common gene for people of African American ancestry.
Okay.
So on your report, under where it says positive carrier and that big HB beta chain related hemoglobinopathy, we say reproductive risk 1 in 3,800.
Mm-hmm.
That is a low number as far as we're concerned. That means he tested negative, reduced the chance he's a carrier as much as we possibly can. Mm-hmm. And that is the risk that we missed something and a child inherited 2 non-working copies of the gene. And that's not a number that we're concerned with or that we recommend doing anything differently in a pregnancy. Any other questions about that condition before I move on to the next one?
Giving blood. I'm O negative, but since I have this, I'm a carrier. What does that mean for me when I want to donate?
I I don't know the answer to that. My guess is it doesn't mean anything, but that would certainly be something the donation center would be able to tell you.
All right, perfect.
That's a really good question. I've never had anyone ask me that before.
Okay.
But I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, we'll move on to his results.
Okay, so this one is a little more complicated, but again, the bottom line is risk that a child could have this disease is 1 in 53,000, which is really, really tiny. So this is a gene called SMN1. Most of us, we have 2 copies of this gene. Well, again, 1 inherited from each parent. So those genes are carried on these structures called chromosomes. So you have a chromosome with this gene inherited from our mom, and a chromosome with this gene inherited from our dad. When we do this testing, the first step is to see how many copies of this gene does a person have, because most carriers just have 1 copy of the gene. And so for your results, Ms. Bryant, you have 2 copies of the gene, and, well, actually, both of you have 2 copies of the gene. So that makes you look like you're not a carrier. But then we know that there are some people who inherited both copies of their gene on the same chromosome. So they got 2 copies from one parent and no copies from the other parent, which makes them what's called silent carrier. They don't look like they should be a carrier, but they are, because when their body makes egg cells or sperm cells, those egg or sperm cells either get 2 copies of the gene or no copies of the gene.
Wow.
So we do this additional test, and that's what the negative for the G.27134 T to G SNP is looking at. It is a kind of red flag or warning sign that a person's 2 copies may be doubled up. And I said may. Doesn't mean it's a guarantee. So for you, ma'am, we looked at how many copies of the gene, and then we went and we looked for the SNP, and you didn't have it. So that means your chance to be a carrier is quite low.
Okay.
For your partner, he's got 2 copies of the gene, but he was positive for that SNP. And that just means that his chance to be a carrier isn't as low as we'd like it to be. So before we did testing, individuals of African American ancestry, about 1 in every 66 people is a carrier. Yeah. After testing for your partner, he's got a 1 in 34 chance to be a carrier. So his chance to be a carrier went up instead of down. It's still not saying he's a carrier, because he's got a 33 out of 34 chance that he's not a carrier.
Right.
If we had just tested him, we'd be having a discussion about testing you, because this is a recessive disease. You both have to be positive as a carrier for there to be a risk. And since you tested negative, that is what drives that reproductive risk down to that 1 in 53,000 number.
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, it sounds like we have pretty good results.
You do. You have great results.
All right. Do you have any more questions? I think we're good on the questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. I will put this information in a note that I will upload to your account and also send back to your doctor. And then if the 2 of you have other questions, you can always give us a call back.
All right. We really appreciate this call.
No problem. Thank you. Have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye. So everyone, essentially the wrap up is we are good. Yes, I may have hemoglobin-C, something sickle cell traits, but I don't have the disease. My child only has, that baby's going to have a 50% chance of just being a carrier. Trey, maybe, we don't even know. He has only like a 1 in 33 chance that he's a carrier for spinal muscular atrophy. So essentially we're good. Some of these diseases that they tested us for rule out why I may have had those 2 miscarriages. So this just brings a little bit of ease over me, and maybe we're gonna do some additional testing on my hormones, but we shall see. I have some exciting updates coming for you guys. I'm so happy. He doesn't want to be in the camera because his hair is not cut, but
what?
You wanna wave like something? Anyway, I am married, you guys. You guys will meet him this weekend. He just doesn't know what we're doing yet. So I love you guys. Thank you so much. Give this video a thumbs up. I am so glad you guys are supporting me on my journey. Have a great one.